You're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
Joining us now is former federal prosecutor Doug Burns. Doug, no rest for the weary this week. There's going to be a big hearing on Wednesday, and this is with Judge Tanya Chutkan. It's the Jack Smith special prosecutor case on January 6th. They both filed like their legal paperwork late into the night on Friday. What do you think is going to happen this week? What does she have to decide, and who do you think has the better argument?
Well, it's interesting. The case is kind of on life support. Unfortunately, it was made all about, can you get a case to trial before an election? As I said, in 38 years of practicing federal criminal law, never once, not one time ever, did anybody ever have a discussion in a case I was in about the timing of a case vis-a-vis an election. So where we stand, to answer your question real simple, is, Smith made sort of a cautious retreat. He tried to remove from the indictment stuff that was, obviously presidential. But again, it doesn't matter because they still have to litigate lots of other material about what's official, what's unofficial, never going to happen before the election. And it will be fascinating to me to see the zeal or lack thereof in the discussions about the case after the election. I'm being sarcastic, of course. I think it'll largely, almost completely go away.
Yeah, and he's trying to resurrect the classified documents case because that's his other case there in Florida. But I agree with you. I mean, you look at the time frame. And then in the middle of all this, too, also, Doug Burns, the other case is not this week, but it will happen soon afterwards on the 18th. I mean, it's amazing. You got the debate. We've been talking about whether she'll appear or not. We'll see. Right. So you got the debate. And then on the 18th, that's when Judge Marchand in New York is supposed to sentence Donald Trump. And that's, look at the window at that time. I mean, look how close we are. Again, very close to Election Day. What do you think could happen there? We've had a lot of big legal experts, Doug Burns, on the show. We had Andy McCarthy and John Yoo. They were both saying that they think he might get sentenced. That based on the history, the way this judge has been so over the top, they don't put it past him. What do you think's going to happen?
With the obvious recognition that those are great legal experts, I'm going to disagree with them, and I'll tell you why. You have to back up 2 days to September 16th. That's when the judge is supposed to decide this question of the extent to which the immunity ruling from the Supreme Court impacts the New York City case. We know Marchand, so we know the answer, which is no, it doesn't. That's going to be clear. However, we got a huge window of reading tea leaves when the Trump team asked for more time to have the sentencing go past the election, and Alvin Bragg weighed in and said he did not oppose that. Repeat, did not oppose that. And by the way, he got specific in the filing and said, look, once Marchand rules on immunity on the 16th, Trump can immediately appeal that. So there's no way that you can go forward with sentencing on the 18th. So that's my prediction. I could be wrong. I'm not always right. And I don't think it's going to go forward. And I've said before, and I'm going to say again, I don't think he's going to be sentenced before the election takes place.
So, what's interesting, Doug, and you're right about the timing. Obviously, there's that hearing that's 2 days before it.
Right.
But a lot of people think, and again, this is what Andy and John Yoo were saying, they believe that he's just going to disregard it, that even though Alvin Bragg is saying, yeah, I don't care, you can extend it, which I agree is very interesting and telling on that end. But they just think Judge Marchand just seems so intent, even if it doesn't happen where he actually goes behind bars, but that he might actually get sentenced because he wants to have a bit of a feather in his cap. And because this whole thing seems like politics. I mean, if you really look at it, Judge Marchand should have recused himself. Look at his daughter is making so much money. Right. The daughter's firm is making so much money. He donated to Joe Biden. I mean, that to me is blatant conflict of interest. Well, but yet he's going forward.
The really, really, really cynical move, and even this judge, I don't think has it in him to do this, is you give Trump like 2 years, seriously, imprisonment. Obviously, you keep him out on bail pending appeal. That's like a multiple year period, 18 months, 2 years. A high likelihood that the case is going to be reversed, in which case the sentence is academic. But 10 times more importantly, for political purposes right now, then you have the Jamie Raskins of the world going on and on saying, you see that the conduct clearly warranted imprisonment, and they go on and on. Don't think that's going to happen, actually, because, again, I don't think he's going to be sentenced before the election. But, again, that would be the really, really, really cynical move. Give him prison time. He's out on bail pending appeal, and then everybody forgets about it, and he never does 5 minutes in custody ever.
Yeah, that's what I think a lot of people, and some people are thinking, just based on the way that this Judge Marchand just seems to be steamrolling everything. Peter King.
I mean, again, Doug, great having you on. I just, to me, talk about an attack on democracy by Trump. The right to a speedy trial is with the defendant, and yet out of the way, the media, the Democrats, the administration are talking about this rush to judgment against Trump. And no one talks about that being such a violation of a basic precept of American justice.
That's a great point. I've made that point feeling like I'm doing you-know-what into the wind on media, Peter, saying, look, you gave that rule earlier about I've never seen in 38 years, I've never seen the government ask for a speedy trial because, as you explained so perfectly a minute ago, Peter, it's the defendant's right to a speedy trial. So everything was turned on its head. They were hysterical to get this to trial. And on your point about saying Trump's a threat to democracy, want to address that. It seems perfectly apparent to me that the playbook, and you would know more than me, Peter, is to simply accuse your opponent of that which you yourself are doing.
In spades, absolutely.
Yeah, it just seems so, like you just said, it's such lawfare. And I wonder, too, Doug, if they want to, just like you said, if they want to be able to say, oh, he is a convicted felon,
exactly.
Just because technically you're not convicted till you're sentenced. So maybe they'll throw out a sentence just to have it. So then they could use that as a talking point in their campaign ads, which has just been just crazy. Doug Burns, thank you. We love having you on. We're so glad to have you here on Labor Day, too, Doug. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.